which is the 2 rak'ah before you actually wear your ihram, you will take your ihram and you can cover your head like this and have the ihram go around you and then pray your 2 rak'ah salat. Once you are done and before you make the intention, you will just have it come back down and put it around you like this. In the case of idtiba, where you expose your right shoulder, what you will do is the ihram that you have, it's very simple, that's wrapped around you. You will simply take it off, and instead of it going over your shoulder, you will simply go under your shoulder and just go around like this. And you will, perform your tawaf like this. All 7 circuits will be done like this. As soon as you're done with the 7 circuits, it'll come back out and you will cover your shoulder once again. Now we talk about the difference between the ihram garments and the state of ihram. A pilgrim does not enter the state of ihram by putting on the required garments. Neither does he or she get into the said state, the state of ihram, by offering the 2 rak'ah salat in which you recite Surah Al-Kafirun and Surah Al-Ikhlas. Rather, you do enter the state of ihram by making the intention and reciting labbaik. By making the intention and reciting the labbaik. At this time, one should also recite the 3rd kalima, Subhanallah walhamdulillahi wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim. When we are saying this, labbaik, when we are making the intentions, our minds and hearts should be free of all thoughts, of everything in there. We want to know what we are saying, we want to know what we are doing, and we want to know what it is that we are intending. The brothers will say labbaik in an audible fashion, and the sisters will do so silently. Please do not scream, and to do or say the labbaik in a group fashion is against the sunnah. Unfortunately, it has become such that if we don't do it in a group fashion, a lot of people just remain silent. So we want to keep this in mind as we are educating ourselves, that we should say the labbaik loudly. We should try not to say it in the form of a group, but if we do say it in the form of a group, then it's fine, but we have to keep in mind that it is against the sunnah. So by putting on the ihram, you don't acquire the state of ihram. By putting on the clothes, once you have put on the clothes, or the sisters in their regular clothes, as soon as you make the intention and say the labbaik, you have entered the state of ihram. Which basically means that once you have entered the state, you can change your garments, you can take a shower, you can change your clothes, you can do what you want to, but it's that one state that you are in that you cannot change. The following actions, while permissible otherwise, become impermissible by entering the state of ihram. So these are the things that you cannot do while you are in the state of ihram. To even hint towards intercourse with one's spouse, to fight, quarrel, argue with someone else, etc., to strike flies or insects, to chop down trees, to trim hair or clip the nails. These are things which are permissible otherwise that are not permissible in the state of ihram. Hence, if one wishes to take care of any of these things, they should do so before they enter the state of ihram. It is also not permissible to perfume oneself. See, the idea in wearing ihram is that an individual forgets about themselves, forgets about their physical state. The only thing that you are worried about is your spiritual state and your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No matter what your hair is like, what your beard may be like, what your clothes may be like. And believe you me, you will come across a lot of individuals whose ihram garments will be extremely dirty, their hair will be messed up, and they're really not worried about it. And that is actually the goal of putting on the ihram. The idea is to forget about your physical state for a change and to think of that state with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence, using perfume or any kind of fragrance is not allowed. And be careful that you cannot use the refreshing towels that they give you on the airplane, because those are scented towels. While we are on the airplane, we should pray our salat as well. Mufti Taqi Uthmani Hafidhahullah mentions that one should pray their salat at its correct time on the airplane and make up for it after they arrive as well, because there may be certain conditions of the salat that are not fulfilled on the airplane, for example, standing up or facing the qibla. So in that case, you should make up for it when you land as well. But make sure that you have to do your salat on the airplane. A lot of people just don't do their salat on the airplane. Now what will happen is, you will have put on your ihram at the airport. You will have boarded the flight, you will have made the intention, said the labbaik, and now you're waiting for your arrival at Jeddah airport. You will inshallah arrive at Jeddah airport. Once you arrive at Jeddah airport, it's a very, very large terminal, and it will, they will just land the plane in the middle of the desert. I mean, obviously, the whole country is a desert. They'll just land the plane in the middle of a desert. They'll park the airplane, and you will get off of the airplane, and you will board a bus to go to the actual terminal. Again, talking about heavy luggage, remember, brothers will be in the state of ihram. You will be wearing 2 pieces of white cloth at this point, especially if you're traveling to Mecca. Now, if you have a very heavy backpack or very heavy bags, first of all, it's difficult for you as it is to keep these two pieces of cloth on, and now to carry a handbag with it makes your life even more difficult. So the lighter it is, the better it is for you. You will arrive at the airport, you will get on a bus, the bus will transport you into the terminal. Once you arrive at the terminal, they will have you all seated. Alhamdulillah, things have definitely changed in the last few years. They may separate the brothers from the sisters. At this point in time, everyone wants to make sure that you're carrying your passports with you. You're carrying your own passport. As you sit, and alhamdulillah, as soon as you arrive at the airport, they will give you books to read. They will give you Zamzam water to drink. Very kind people, very nice people. As you arrive there and you're seated down with your passports, they will ask you for your passport, and when they ask you for your passport, they will attach all these stickers to it. Right? That's the first of the many stickers that's going to go onto the pages in your passport. In fact, the sticker putting on your passport begins before you even take off from here. Your travel agent puts on this really big, colorful sticker on your passport, and every passport, so they can differentiate between the group's passports. Once you arrive there, they start putting on stickers inside the pages on the passports. One of the stickers actually has a lot of barcodes. You definitely don't want to touch those, because they will be taking one barcode at every stop and putting it on a different document. You will, inshallah, go through immigration. As you go through immigration, you need to have a lot of patience. Like I mentioned earlier, things have definitely changed. Instead of the 6-hour wait at the immigrations, it's now more of a 30-minute to an hour to maybe an hour and a half wait in the immigrations. People are usually busy, filling out the forms, talking to each other, getting acquainted, going to the bathroom, praying their salat and things like that. So that time does pass fairly quickly. As you arrive at the immigration, you will come to realize that the person there is typing very slowly, one letter at a time. You have to give them a break. These are undertrained, underpaid, overworked, simple human beings. Right? Undertrained, underpaid, overworked, simple human beings. And most of the individuals that you see at Jeddah airport, at the Hajj terminal during the days of Hajj, are not individuals who work there full time. These are actually individuals who may be school teachers, who may be working in some factory somewhere, who may be working in some bank somewhere. In Saudi Arabia, they have what they call the Mosam, the season. Mosam al-Hajj, the season of Hajj. And everyone is off during that season. People typically don't work during that season. So a lot of individuals, in order to either make extra money or to just serve the Hujjaj because they find their honor in serving the Hujjaj, they will take off from their regular jobs and go and work these different jobs in order to serve the Hujjaj. So the immigration officer who's probably sitting there behind the computer, at the immigrations, that's probably not his full-time job. So say assalamu alaikum, smile at them, and like I said, give them a break. Don't miss any salat. And by now, if you haven't paired yourself up with someone, you probably want to pair yourself up with someone at this point in time, so that, especially if you're by yourself, so it becomes a little easy for you. If one needs to go to the bathroom or go pray their salat, the other one can hang on to the luggage and whatnot. You will go through immigrations, you will go through customs. Now, once you've arrived, you've gone through immigrations, and as you're going through customs, you will have been stopped at about 3 to 4, maybe even 5 separate checkpoints. People asking you for your passport, people putting a sticker on your passport, taking a sticker out of your passport. Don't get upset. Don't get mad. It's just a process that they follow. As soon as you pass through customs, your luggage will be taken from you, and it will be put on this very big, large cart, on this very large trolley, and you will have to get in line again, because they're going to take a little more of those barcodes off of you. And by the time you're done with those barcodes, it's very possible that the trolley that your luggage was on is no longer in sight. right? It's no longer in sight. So you have to make sure that you're very vigilant as to where you go. And at that point in time, when you see your luggage, because you will walk your luggage out with you and put it on the cart before you get into that line once again. Remember the number on that trolley. Every trolley has a number. You want to make sure that you keep in mind the number on that trolley, because what they will do is they will take that trolley and park it in some place at the airport, and your luggage will be right on it. It's a very large airport. Once you have arrived outside, if you're going to Medina, your tour operator will get you all together and try to get you on a plane to go to Medina. If you're going to Mecca, your tour operator will get you all together and he will have you seated, and then he will go and look for a bus. He has to go to the office. The office then takes the passports from the people, from the tour operators, gives him a bus or gives him a number of seats on a bus, and then they transport you to your hotel. That wait, by the way, can be anywhere between 1 hour and 4 to 5 hours. And it's usually by now where people start screaming. Right? People say, where's the bus? How come? We thought it was all 5-star. We thought we'd paid for this. They thought they would take care of us. This is just the beginning. Get ready. Right? This is just the beginning. Just relax. As I mentioned, Jeddah Airport is the Hajj terminal is just a very large terminal. There's bathrooms. You can shower. There's places to pray your salat. There's restaurants. Every kind of food that you want is available. There's everything there. There's money exchange. There's shopping. If you haven't, you can buy your prayer rug there. If you need to buy an extra pair of slippers, you can buy an extra pair of slippers there. If you need to buy a belt, you can buy an extra belt there. There's so many things there that your time passes. But also, you want to keep in mind that you don't want to stray too far away from your group, because it's very possible your tour operator will come, and within a period of 10 minutes, you will need to get on a bus. And if you've strayed too far away, they will have to wait for you. Remember, the Saudi government will not let a bus move until they have every single passport accounted for. They will count how many number of people are on a bus before you board the bus, once you've boarded the bus, and they will count again, and they will count again, and they may just count again before the bus moves. So you get the idea. They will make sure that they will, and if you're late, you will become famous as the person who arrived late. You don't want to be that person, right? There are some people who have a habit of being the last ones on the bus, and the bus will not move. If that means 49 people out of 50 have to wait for that 50th one to arrive for 2 hours, that they won't let that bus move from there until the 50th one has arrived. So you have to be very careful about that. You want to make sure that you don't stray too far. But Jeddah Airport by itself is an adventure, and it's a lot of fun. You can actually make phone calls back home. Everything's available there. So that once you're done with Jeddah Airport, then you will, inshallah, travel to Makkah or Medina. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is the Hajj terminal at Jeddah Airport. This is where we all arrive right before we go for the actual Hajj or to Makkah or Medina. We have arrived here about 6 or 7 hours ago. Immigration took us about 2 hours, and now we are actually waiting for the flights to go to Medina in this case, and many individuals with us are actually waiting to go to Makkah. The wait here can be anywhere between 6 and 12 hours, but in this case we've actually been blessed. As you look behind me, as you look around me, we have restaurants, masjids, and every single facility that you can imagine. So the stay here could be anywhere between 10 and 12 hours and maybe even more, but regardless of how long we stay here, we really don't have to worry about any other facilities, because everything is provided for us. So you will travel from Jeddah to Makkah. It's very possible that somewhere in between your bus may just get stopped and they may want to check your passports again. Once you arrive into Makkah, they will take you to the Mutawwa's office. They will collect your passports there, and then they will give you these little wristbands that you will wear. That will pretty much, again, just as you wear your badge around your neck, you want to wear that with you as well. That shows you exactly where your passports are located. Who has your passports? Just in case you get lost, you get sick, something happens, you stay away from the group, that is the office that is carrying your passport. Your life, half of your life pretty much depends on that. So they give you these really tacky looking wristbands If you're lucky, you get the white ones with the red writing. You definitely don't want to get stuck with the yellow ones, but it doesn't matter. You will wear those. And it's very common. Everyone that you see there in Hajj wears one because that's where their passports are. So you will go there, they will take your passports away, and then they will take you to the hotel. Once you arrive at the hotel, obviously your luggage will be loaded off of the bus, and you will be transferred to your rooms. Please don't make a big deal about the rooms. You also need to keep in mind that brothers stay in one room and sisters stay in the other room. So if there's 3 per room, there's 3 brothers in one room and 3 sisters in one room. You can't have a husband, wife, and another relative sleeping in one room. The Saudi government will not allow that. And if that happens, you could get into a lot of trouble. So you want to make sure that you're prepared for that. And also, if there is a couple who wants to be in a room by themselves, then make sure that you speak to your travel agent beforehand and you pay them the extra money so that you can have a room for yourselves. Once you go to your room, you check in, you settle down. The correct adab of entering any masjid is the same with al-Masjid al-Haram. You will enter by saying the dua. And in this case, you will enter while you're looking on the ground. You want to make sure that you look down. And you keep on walking inside the haram until you feel and you realize and you sense that if I look up now, I will get an entire sight of the Kaaba. I will see the entire Kaaba rather than one piece of it or one portion of it. So that is the best and most correct method of trying to enter the haram, especially for the first time when an individual goes there. It may be difficult at times, but don't try to look up and around too much. Try to have as much adab as possible. And then as you see the Kaaba, allow yourself the first sight of the Kaaba. Enjoy the moment. On doing so, recite takbir, say Allahu Akbar, thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For sure Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will respond. And according to one tradition, that any dua that is made upon seeing the Kaaba for the first time is a dua which is accepted. Any dua which is made on seeing the Kaaba for the first time is a dua which is accepted. Before we go for Hajj, another thing that we want to remember is if there's things that we want to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for, we should get a little notebook and write all these things down. Right? Write down all of our du'as, whatever it is that you want to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for. If people have requested for you to make du'a for them, write it down. Write it down in a notebook. Have a list. Some people actually come with very large lists of things they want to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for. It's very possible that you just may forget at that point in time. Now when you see the Kaaba for the first time, obviously everyone is thinking, what's my first du'a going to be? Right? That's the simple, what am I going to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for? And Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi said that one should supplicate and make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Allah, whatever dua I make after this dua, accept it. Right? Not just here, for the rest of my life. Right? Not just here, for the rest of my life. Whatever dua I make after this dua, whether it be while I'm here, for as long as I live, oh Allah, please accept it from me. And believe you me, if one has firm conviction in the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept my dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept every dua of that individual, inshaAllah ta'ala. Keep in mind that that's not the only dua one should be making at that point in time. If you have a list, and if you're actually, before you begin your umrah, if you stand there for an entire hour just supplicating to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then so be it. Then so be it. That is a very special moment. That moment only comes around once in a person's lifetime, if you're lucky, the sight of the Kaaba. So don't hesitate, don't worry, don't fear anyone, don't fear anything. For as long as you may need to stand there, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you have a partner with you or your spouse is with you and they have done making their dua, then just let them move aside, but don't stop the other one from making dua. Let them keep on going until they feel content that I have asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for as much as I wanted to, because every dua I make at this point in time is going to be an accepted one. Now inside the Kaaba there are certain important landmarks that we need to know. First of all, the Hajar Aswad, the black stone. This is a shiny black stone that is embedded in one of the corners of the Kaaba in an oval-shaped casing made of silver. This will mark the beginning and end of each tawaf, of each circuit around the Kaaba. In line with the actual black stone, there is a brown line that runs straight out of this corner where this stone is placed at, right? And that line is on every floor of the Kaaba. It's on the ground floor, in the mataf, the first floor, the second floor, and on the roof. It's a brown line that runs across that. As you come around there, you will know exactly that this is in line with the black stone. And the reason it's very crucial is because that's where you begin your tawaf, and that is where you end your tawaf. Also, another way to know, now as you enter the haram, how do you know where it is that the black stone is? You see the Kaaba, it's a square building, you don't know where it is. If you look up, you will find that on every corner of the haram, al-Masjid al-Haram, there are 2 minarets. 2 minarets on each side. The corner with the black stone is the only side that has 1 minaret. So even from far away, you can tell that this is where the black stone is. This is the corner of the Kaaba where the black stone is. And as you enter the haram, and as you walk through the mataf, which is the open area, if you're inside the mataf, in line with the black stone on the building, you will see these green lights on the inner walls of the Grand Mosque. So when you see these green lights, that's a sign that the black stone is right there. Then you have the hatim. The hatim is there's a semicircular, about 5-foot wall that is adjacent to one of the walls of the Kaaba. The area which is inside this is considered to be the hatim, and it's part of the Kaaba. And salat offered there is considered to be salat inside the Kaaba. For this reason, the custodians of the Grand Mosque evacuate this area before every prayer, because the Imam stands outside the Kaaba. And a person cannot be inside the Kaaba when the Imam is outside the Kaaba. And you might have seen it in pictures. You have the Kaaba, and on the one end you have a wall that goes around like this. One should definitely try to get in and pray their salat. Also keep in mind, because this is considered to be part of the Kaaba, when you are making your tawaf, you have to go around it. You cannot cut through it. If you cut through it, then your tawaf is incomplete. You have to go around it. That area is known as the hatim. Then you have the rukn yamani, the right-hand side cornerstone. This is the corner that is to the right of the corner housing the black stone as the black stone faces you. The covering on this is slightly lifted. And so as you're walking around and making tawaf, the corner right before the corner where you reach the black stone is the one which is known as Rukn Yamani. And the reason we need to know this is because there's something that you need to do there when you arrive there if you are close enough to the Kaaba. Two things we need to understand now, Ramal and Idtiba. These are 2 acts that the Prophet ﷺ instated in order to display the strength of the Muslims. These are to be done only during tawaf, by brothers only, and that tawaf which is followed by a sa'i. So if you're performing a tawaf which is not followed by a sa'i, you will not do this. And if it's followed by a sa'i, the brothers will make ramal and idtiba. Ramal is to walk like a brave warrior, to walk, shoulders high, somewhat like jogging. You have to make sure that while you're making ramal, you're not harming anyone, right? You're not bumping into people or cutting off people. Ramal is only done in the first 3 circuits of the tawaf. So the first 3 circuits, you have to make ramal. Second is idtiba, to expose the right shoulder by taking the upper ihram garment from under the armpit, where you actually take as you're wearing the ihram, you take the ihram and pull it through your armpit, so your right shoulder remains exposed. Your right shoulder remains exposed. This idtiba is to be done in all 7 of the circuits. So you're walking like a brave warrior in 3 of them, brothers, and your right shoulder is actually exposed in all 7 of them. As soon as you have completed the tawaf, the 7 circuits around the Kaaba, you will go ahead and cover your right shoulder once again. You will find many people whose shoulders remain exposed even during sa'i, even when they're going from Safa to Marwa, Marwa to Safa, while they're making their sa'i. That is incorrect. Your shoulder will only remain exposed during the tawaf and not after that. So now you're beginning your tawaf. As you begin your tawaf, you approach the black stone, which marks the beginning of your tawaf, and you will stand a little to the side of the black stone. Now you will be facing the black stone, by the way. You will be facing the black stone, and you will stand to the left of the black stone. You don't want to stand to the right of the black stone because that is the beginning of the tawaf. As you stand there, now you will move to face the black stone, and just like you begin your salat, you will raise your hands to your ears, say Bismillahi Allahu Akbar, and put your hands down. Right? You will say Bismillahi Allahu Akbar, and you will put your hands down. This is analogous to the takbir tahrima of salat. Just as we begin our salat and we say Allahu Akbar, and once we say Allahu Akbar, we don't talk to anyone, we are in prayer, we are in ibadah. This is exactly the same. You say Bismillahi Allahu Akbar, you leave your hands to your side. So everything else, everything besides worship, everything besides the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, talking, cell phones, etc. should be avoided. Now what you need to do is kiss the black stone. You need to kiss the black stone. Now with all the people there, it's not possible to kiss the black stone. So what you will do, it's called istilam. What you will do is you will take your hands, your palms, face them out towards the black stone. You will say Bismillahi Allahu Akbar once again, and you will kiss your hands. So there's two things that you need to do. You will stand facing the black stone. You will say Bismillahi Allahu Akbar, and then you will put your palms out and say Bismillahi Allahu Akbar, kiss your fingers, and that will mark the beginning of your tawaf. Now you have to make sure that you learn this and you're experts at this, because you will not have all the time in the world to look inside a book, to stand there and begin this. You will have to make sure that you know it so well that you can do it immediately. The further you are away from the Kaaba, the easier it is. The further you are, because there's less people there. More of the people are crowded towards the Kaaba. Keep in mind that tawaf sometimes is easier on the second floor or on the roof as well. Tawaf is sometimes easier on the second floor or the roof as well. But the tawaf is much longer upstairs. But sometimes, because of the traffic, it's just much more convenient to do it upstairs. At times, it's even quicker to do it upstairs because there's relatively less people upstairs as compared to people downstairs. Now, if you're a swift walker, I've personally done tawaf where I've completed all 7 circuits around the Kaaba in a period of 8 minutes. Right? 7 circuits in 8 minutes. And there have been times where I have completed 1 circuit in a matter of 8 minutes. Right? And it takes you about an hour to perform 7 circuits around the Kaaba. So it really depends on the season, it really depends on where you are and what your situation may be, but this is how you begin your tawaf. You say Bismillahi Allahu Akbar, then you put your hands out facing the black stone, istilam, kissing the black stone, Bismillahi Allahu Akbar, and you kiss your fingers. Now, you begin your tawaf, right? You begin your tawaf counterclockwise, inshallah, you won't get lost there. There is a very famous story of a very large sheikh who passed many centuries ago. His book is still used as a reference by scholars. He wrote a book on how to go for Hajj without ever having gone for Hajj. Right? That's how much knowledge he had. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had blessed him with so much knowledge. He went to the haram and he began his tawaf. And he began his tawaf clockwise. A young child came to him and said, "You're doing your tawaf incorrectly." And he said, "How could I be doing my tawaf incorrectly?" He said, "No, I read in that sheikh's book that the tawaf is performed the other way around. It's counterclockwise." And the sheikh at that point told the child and said, "That was me who wrote the book. You won't go clockwise, you will definitely go counterclockwise." As you're making your tawaf, you may supplicate and make dua in any and every language that you want to. It does not have to be Arabic, it could be any language that you want to. There are certain du'as that some scholars have prescribed that are found in books, that you recite this du'a when you're in the first round, this du'a in the second round, this du'a in the third round. You will also find many hujjaj who come in large groups and one person recites and then they all follow, he recites, they all follow, he recites, they all follow. That's also possible, but keep in mind that whatever du'a that you're making should be done from the heart. Should be done from the heart. You want to know what you're saying. And instead of, a lot of times what happens is when spouses are making Hajj with each other, because there's a lot of people, they're holding their hands so they can, they don't get lost and and in doing that, what happens is they may even talk to each other. "Oh, look at that child, such a cute child," or "Look at that individual." You definitely do not want to do that. You want to make sure that you're in dua and ibadah all the time. Now, as you're making your tawaf, you come around, you go around and you will reach Rukn Yamani. This is the corner which is right before the black stone. At Rukn Yamani, you will do one of 2 things if you can. You will either touch it with both of your hands, or you will touch it with one of your hand, your right hand. You will not touch it with your left hand, or like many ignorant people do, wave from far away as they're going by. Now, remember, as you're going around the Kaaba, as you're making your tawaf, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually go as close up to the Kaaba and touch it with both of your hands or just with your right hand. And so many people, what they do is as they're walking around, they will raise their hands. They may touch it with their left hand because that's the side that they're on, or they may just wave their hands from far away. Both incorrect. If not, then you will just walk through. And in all these cases, as you're walking from Rukn Yamani to the black stone, that stretch, it is sunnah and it's preferable to recite رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Also, very important, try not to turn your face or your chest towards the Kaaba. Just as it is important in salat that you're facing the Kaaba and your chest doesn't turn around, it's imperative that your chest does not face the Kaaba during tawaf. Some scholars have written so far as that it will actually void your tawaf if you face the Kaaba. So you have to be very, very careful about that. So now you will go around 7 times. You begin at Hajar al-Aswad, you come around to Hajar al-Aswad, that's the completion of 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is where your little beads help you because you remember how many you've done. Now, also remember that you want to make sure that you're either going down or going up. You don't want to forget that either. If you got 3 at the bottom and 4 at the top, and all of a sudden you forget, is it 3 or 4? How many have I done and how many have I not done? So you have to remember that as well. And inshallah, you will complete your 7 circuits. Once you have completed your 7 circuits, it's a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to pray 2 rak'ah behind Maqam Ibrahim. Don't try to do that. You will not succeed. There's so many people there that you will not succeed. You will also find people who try to pray their 2 rak'ah there, and there's people making barriers there. They're holding on really tight for that brother or sister to pray. What's happening is there's so many people coming up from behind, it becomes difficult for these individuals because there's a whole flow of traffic that's coming, and you've got these 2 people, and all of a sudden the traffic has to break up. And the point of prayer, the point of salat is to be, is to be thoughtful, is to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is to communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what kind of a salat will you be praying if you're actually praying in such a hurry where there's someone holding a barrier for you and you have to pray 2 rak'ah in about 30 seconds? That's not the point. The sunnah is to pray behind Maqam Ibrahim, but it is correct to pray anywhere inside the haram. It is correct to pray anywhere inside the haram. So find yourself a nice quiet spot anywhere inside the haram and pray 2 rak'ah there. What a lot of people do is they do pray behind Maqam Ibrahim, but they don't pray immediately or right behind Maqam Ibrahim. They will move back by maybe 100 feet. They will actually enter the mosque, the building of the masjid, and pray there. They're still behind Maqam Ibrahim. Yeah, they may be a few hundred feet away, but they're still behind Maqam Ibrahim. But it's the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to pray 2 rak'ah once the tawaf is completed. Again, this is one of those moments where your du'as are accepted. This is one of those moments where your du'as are accepted, so you should just break it down and make as many du'as as possible. You can, like I mentioned earlier, pray this 2 rak'ah anywhere inside the haram. You need to go and perform the sa'i. So you've performed your tawaf, now you need to go and perform the sa'i. You have 2 choices. You can either go to the multazam. The multazam is the area between the black stone and the door of the Kaaba, and make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there. Again, there's a lot of people there, so if you do succeed in getting there, try to make sure that because you are in the state of ihram, you don't touch it. Because like I mentioned earlier, it's just flooded with a lot of perfume, and you don't want to get that onto yourself. So be careful about that. Or go to the well of Zamzam. Go to the well of Zamzam and drink the water of Zamzam. You can drink the water of Zamzam anywhere, right? Before you had the well, you could go inside the well. Now, since there is no well, you can just go to any one of the coolers of Zamzam and drink Zamzam and make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The dua that is taught there is Allahumma inna nas'aluka ilman nafi'a wa rizqan wasi'a wa shifa'an min kulli da'. So you've performed your tawaf, you've made ramal, walking like a brave warrior, the brothers in the first 3 circuits. You've made idtiba, your right shoulder was exposed in all 7 of the circuits. You prayed the 2 rak'ah. You either went to the multazam and made dua, or you just drank Zamzam and now you're headed to the mas'a, to the area where you make sa'i. So you approach the Mount of Safa. You don't need to climb all the way to the top. You only needed to climb to a point where you can actually see the Kaaba. In this case, the Kaaba will be to your left. Once again, you will begin by saying Bismillahi Allahu Akbar. Here you will not raise your hands to your ears. You will make a dua, supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you will descend towards Marwa. As you descend towards Marwa, the area between the green lights is actually closer to Safa than it is to Marwa. So once you get to that area, you will jog until those, and there's green lights on all the sides, so you can't miss it, and everyone is running. So you will jog until you make it to the end of those green lights. It is sunnah for the men to cover that area in a jogging pace, not for the women. So in the case of women, what they will do is they will just simply walk it. The brothers will actually wait for their spouses or their sisters or their mothers at the end of the green lighted area. Just don't stand in the middle of nowhere. Stand on the side somewhere so that the thousands of people that are passing through, it's convenient for them to pass through and you're not making it difficult for them. Now, once you pass through that green lighted area, you will arrive at Marwa. When you arrive at Marwa, you will turn around once again, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make it back to Safa. On your way back to Safa, you will come to that green lighted area, you will jog again and make it back to Safa. Now, from Safa to Marwa is 1, Marwa to Safa is 2, Safa to Marwa once again is 3, and if you're doing 7, you will complete at Marwa, right? You will complete at Marwa. The only thing that's left now is to end your Umrah is to get a haircut, right? So you will end your Umrah by either trimming your hair or shaving your hair. The predominant way is the fact that you should shave your head. One should shave their head. A lot of people say, well, why should I shave my head when I'm going to perform a Hajj afterwards? You can get it shaved again. A lot of people say, well, if I'm going to perform another Umrah after this, why should I shave my head? Get it shaved and get it shaved again. If one wishes to trim their hair, then they need to keep in mind that they can only trim their hair if their hair is larger than 1 inch. If their hair is shorter than 1 inch, then they need to make sure that they shave their hair. This is for the brothers, not the sisters. The sisters, all they need to do is get 1 inch off of the back of their hair trimmed, right? They just need to grab it in a bunch and just 1 inch cut off from the back of their hair. Their spouses can do that for them, but keep in mind that their spouses must have had their haircut taken care of before they can do that. Some ulama do mention that if all the rituals of Hajj are completed, a sister can cut her own hair. Most of the ulama mention that she should get someone else who is not in the state of ihram to cut her hair, because until then she is still in the state of ihram, and in the state of ihram you should not cut hair. You will not carry your scissors with you to the haram. You will not, you won't pull out your hair, the sisters, you won't pull out your hair in front of everyone and cut 1 inch. You will just simply remain in the state of ihram, in the haram. If you need to pray your salat, pray your salat. When you go back to your room, your hotel rooms, you will just take care of that there. The brothers, as you walk out at Marwa, there's tons of barbershops, and they're all, there's 2 things. Either some people are actually standing there and they want to lure you away, they want to take you away. These are individuals whose barbershops are a little far away, and so they have these little kids standing there, so they take you away to these barbershops that are far away. Or you can just simply walk out at Marwa, and there's a line of barbershops. Just walk into any one of the barbershops. You don't have to worry about contamination or anything like that. The Saudi law makes sure that they have to change the blade every time they change a customer and whatnot. And they're professionals. Even if you have to shave your head, they will do that in a matter of a few moments. It may bleed a little, but then it's really not a big deal. No, really, it's really not a big deal. It bleeds a little. What's the big deal? Go for a shower, it gets taken care of. And like I mentioned earlier, if you are actually performing, if you wish to perform another Umrah the next day or the day after, and if you shave your hair, there's no harm in that. You just have it shaved again. You may ask, well, what if I don't have any hair on my head? Don't worry. The barber, they know that they will just take a blade and go over your head again. Don't worry. They will not peel your skin off. Right? They will not peel your skin off. You can shave again and again and again. Once you have done this, your Umrah is complete. You did tawaf, you did sa'i, you did your haircut, and your Umrah is now complete. When you're inside Mecca, keep in mind that Mecca is a very sacred city, and that is to say the least of it. One should make every effort to maximize their stay there. Instead of sticking around in the shopping centers and inside your hotels. By the way, most of the Westerners, when we go from here, our hotels are pretty nice. They have pretty nice TVs as well. They have everything from PTV to ZTV to CNN. don't turn your TV on. If someone in your room, is compelled to turn their TV on, ask them to turn it off. This is not the place to watch TV. Every brief moment, every moment that you have should either be spent resting to try to grab a little bit of rest or a little bit of food, and then all the extra moments should be spent inside the haram, right? Making dua, reciting the Quran. One salat inside the haram is equivalent to 100,000 salat. A lot of people, after they become very tired of traveling from San Francisco all the way to Jeddah and going through the ordeal at Jeddah airport and performing their umrah, they go back to their hotel rooms and tell themselves, I will wake up when my eyes want me to wake up, right? That's not the way it should be. We should, as soon as it's time for salat, before it's time for the prayer, we should try to make it to the haram as quickly as possible. There's clocks placed inside the haram. Every clock tells you the times of the adhan. Right? When you see the time on the clock, that is the time of the adhan. Make use of those clocks, write down the time, because 10 to 15 minutes after that time is when the congregation will begin. Don't expect to walk out of your hotels 5 minutes before the congregation to make it inside the haram. If you want to make it inside the haram during the Hajj season, you should leave your hotel at least 20 to 25 minutes before the time for prayer to make it to the haram, and only then will you make it there on time and find space inside the haram. So try to make sure that you make use of those clocks, and try to make sure that you pray every fourth salat inside the haram. When you are in Makkah, try to complete one recitation of the entire Quran. And it's doable, by the way. Usually we are in Makkah for 4 or 5 days. And if we don't spend all our free time in our hotels relaxing and things like that, it's very possible that an individual can read 7-8 juz per day. After every salat, 1 or 2 juz, and they can definitely complete at least one recitation of the Quran inside in the haram inside Makkah. Pay your respects at Jannatul Ma'la. This is the major graveyard in Makkatul Mukarramah. Try to pray some salat inside the hatim and make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And make as many tawaf as possible. This is the best form of worship in Makkah, inside the haram. Not your sunan and nawafil. Regularly when we go inside a masjid, what do? We pray 2 rak'ah salat when we, as greeting to the masjid. In the haram, you do not pray 2 rak'ah. As soon as you enter the haram, you actually make a tawaf. Now, one tawaf consists of 7 circuits, by the way. So you will find a lot of people in their regular clothes, they're just making tawaf around the Kaaba. So all they do simply is walk up to the black stone or in line with the black stone, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, kiss their hands, and they start moving. 1 circuit, 2 circuit, 3 circuit, 4 circuit. All of a sudden it's time for prayer. They'll just stand right there, do their prayer with the Imam, just take off from their circuit from there, and complete their 7 circuits. That's 1 tawaf. There's individuals who may make 1 extra tawaf a day, 2 extra tawaf a day. I have come across individuals who, not during the Hajj season, perform up to 15 tawaf a day. That's 15 times 7 circuits. So as much as possible. Now, you also want to remember that you want to save your energy, because you have to perform Hajj afterwards as well. So you don't want to, just let go of everything there. Now, in between your Umrah and the Hajj, you can perform as many tawaf as possible as you want. You can perform more Umrahs as well. In the case of you wanting to perform more Umrahs while you're inside Makkah, what you will do is you will simply take a taxi, go to Tan'im, or you will just say Tan'im, Miqat, or Masjid Aisha. These are 3 names for the exact same place. And what's the easiest method of doing this is shower, put on your ihram, get into a taxi, and tell the taxi driver that you want to go to Masjid Aisha and back to the haram, or you want to go to Tan'im and back to the haram, or you want to go to the Miqat and back to the haram. The taxi driver will take you from your hotel to Tan'im. You will arrive at the border, which is the Miqat. You will pray the 2 rak'ah salat there. You will make the intention there, because you cannot make the intention for an Umrah inside the haram. You have to go outside to the border. And then you come right back. The same taxi driver drops you right off at the haram. You arrive at the haram, perform your Umrah, you make tawaf, sa'i, get a haircut, and you go right back to what you were doing before. So you can perform that as possible. So as we've completed our Umrah, now we get ready to perform the Hajj. Among the 3 obligations of Hajj are the state of Ihram. Once again, you will acquire the state of Ihram. You might have arrived in Makkah a few days, a few weeks even before the Hajj. You've performed your Umrah. In the state of Hajj, what is obligatory is the state of Ihram. Your stay at Arafah on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah from afternoon until sunset. That is one of the obligations of Hajj. And last but not least, the Tawaf al-Ifadah, which is also known as Tawaf al-Ziyarah. The